culture really want to know what I listen to? Does the culture really want our flavor? Do you really want to know what my album of the years are? Do you really want to understand what came into all this process of picking what's number one and what's number 15? Y'all wanted to know what we listening to, and I'm going to give y'all that right now. Top 15 albums of the year, my choice. Album of the year. It's been one of those years. 2020 has been one of those years that has given us great quality music in the tougher of times. I think what makes 2020 a great thing is the fact is, at least we're talking music wise, of course, you got a variety of music. You're talking about the trap noises of the world. You're talking about the lyrical boundaries that are being extended and exceeded. That's there. And sadly, you've also gotten those posthumous albums, as we'll mention it, some in the list. But with all that being said, this year has been one of those for me as a fan. I mean, I'm 24, so I'm young, but I understand the extent of how great this year was as far as just quality and even quantity, I'm sorry, in work as far as certain artists are concerned. A lot of people have asked, what am I listening to at this point? What am I putting in my Serato to jam, and all that. And it's been a variety of sound this year. I think I've grown to just learn and just observe different artists, and if it means different genres, so be it. I mean, my diehard love is in hip hop and in rap and all that stuff, but like my R&B catalog has grown to be more extended than anything. And we're talking even pop. I listen to pop too. It's pretty good. The variety is crazy, and I mean, in these type of lists, top 15, it's a lot of people that we're missing out as far as albums are concerned. But this was my top 15. But I'm gonna give you a little bit of honorable mentions, and we'll get into that right now. Now I know I didn't mention what my ratings and all that, how it works for my top 15 to be filled. First is just replay value. That's kind of one of a big thing, obviously, right? How do you like an album and not play it? And that's not so true in ways, because like for me, I'll give you one. To Pimp a Butterfly is a masterful album. I really love the album, but I don't play it consistently because to me it just doesn't have that much replay value. But for the most part, most of these have replay value, and it's just the quality of work is just top notch, and they just sound, one, the producers went crazy, the artists went insane, and you could just in some way, even these, just the budget just feels crazy because most of these albums, they're just glamorous in ways. But for that, we'll get into my number 15. And this one's going to shock you just for the fact maybe you haven't heard them. Key Glock, the Yellow Tape album. Key Glock, he's a family, or pretty much, we'll say, the member of Young Dolph's crew. Yellow Tape, pretty much band play. The producer was on this, and he just killed it. It was slaps after slaps after slaps. It's a great trap album. Key Glock gets in his bag about the braggadocious life, if you will. It's great. It has a lot of replay value for me because I feel like he flips a lot of songs that you've heard before. I know I heard a UGK song on here, or it might have been 3-6. I'm not sure. But it's crazy. That one for sure gets number 15. It would have been in my honorable mentions if it wasn't for maybe like I just feel like the replay value was insane for me, so I can't act like it isn't one of those. And we got number 14. Baldi James, Price of Tea in China. Baldi James, member of Griselda. He's one of the newer members. The guy is insane. I think he's from Detroit. The guy's been dropping all year. He dropped this one, I think was his second album that he had dropped. The first one came out around January. He dropped Versace Tape after this one, and then he just dropped the Real Bad Baldi or something like that. But all of them are quality work. If we're talking just standout, this was also an Alchemist produced album, and Baldi James just sliced through that shit and cuts it like butter. It was amazing. It would have been higher, honestly, but I just feel like the list got so compact and it was super tight, and because these albums are pretty good. But we're talking about this one. We have Surf and Turf, Vince Staples. Vince Staples goes out of his mind. Feature, one of the best features you'll hear for sure is from Vin. Vince and Scrape the Ball. Obviously, Benny the Butcher is a member of Griselda, so you expect bar galore. Scrape the Ball. Drug talk for sure. If y'all like that. Freddie Gibbs on Snort. Freddie Gibbs as well has been killing everything he's been on. If we're talking about his own music or features, the guy has been out of his mind. But yeah, I mean, Baldi James. When we're talking about Baldi and we're talking about features, Baldi James is a heavyweight in ways. A lot of people haven't heard him, but you're gonna be hearing him a little more next year for sure. And the guy is tough, tough as needles. I think he also had a Detroit 2 feature, so you should check it out because I think Big Sean had like a 9 minute Detroit only song, and I know Boldy was on that for sure. So y'all need to check that out. But check out this album as well. When I mentioned also, my variety has changed and all that. One was Brent Faze. He comes in at number 13. Fuck the World. It's a great album, man. We're talking about R&B as it's kind of transitioning in some other ways, and I think Brent is one of those guys that's just leading with his voice and his bars. They're pretty good. A standout track for me would be "Fuck the World," "Summer in London." That's a good one, as well as maybe "As Soon as I Get Home." Man, the guy makes you feel his pain or just feel his world. I guess pun intended with the world, right? And I feel like with his voice is an instrument, and he controls the way he's just maneuvering this whole beat and just sound and just anything. The guy's awesome. I suggest you listen to this one. It's a 10 track, 26-minute album. Nothing too extensive about it. But I think what is extensive is his catalog. I really like Brent's catalog. Y'all need to check that out, especially this album for sure. We go from one short album to a long album, but a long album with a lot of content and a lot of lyrical bars everywhere. Royce the 5'9", The Allegory, my number 12 album. It goes without saying, Royce is pretty much distinguished around the streets of Detroit and also just the streets of just rap. He's pretty much Hall of Famer, I guess, if you had a Hall of Fame. The guy just keeps dropping quality work, and this one goes without saying it's quality, no doubt about it. King Crook had a feature on here with Trick, that was a good one. Benny the Butcher, Upside Down with Ashley Sorrell, that one's a great one. That one I think is my standout track for the whole album. You'll be seeing Benny around because Benny just killed 2020, and if you didn't hear Benny, then I don't know what you're talking about, right? And Conway on Fubu, awesome work. I think with Royce, it's like he's pinning himself against these tough killers, I guess just monsters in bars, and he doesn't care, because he could pull out that shotty of just killer quotes, killer moments of his life, and he'll make it sound glamorous in ways, or grimy in ways, or just stuff like that. And this is what the Allegory does. The production is awesome. I think he produced, if not all of it, 95% of it. So props to him, just giving you quality sound and quality bars. So two out of the two things a lot of people want, right? And then we come to my number 11, the man that had an honorable mention, but he's in here because this album was awesome. Giveon, Take Time. Like I said, comes in at my number 11. Another small little album, whatever you want to call it, but it's so compact with just, I guess, greatness. His voice is deep, man, but it just sounds original in ways like you've never heard it before. And when you first hear it, it takes you out of like the loop. You're like, what the fuck is this? And you just hear him talk about pain, right? Pretty much. It's R&B nowadays. That's kind of the whole thing of things. But I mean, if you're talking about the best one out of all this ain't love or even Heartbreak Anniversary. I mean, you're hearing these damn titles and you're like, what the fuck? But Giveon gives you just the voice of a god, I guess, and I think he's gonna be a killer heavy hitter next year for sure. I mean, he just dropped two good albums. What are we gonna expect? He had a Chicago freestyle with Drake on Drake's album, so you're seeing the guy make his moves. So let's hope he steps it up even more. We already cracked the top 10. One of the guys that I found out about this year, just because, maybe it's just because I'm in Texas, I wouldn't know. Rock Marciano. Rock Marciano, he's from New York. Top of the head, I don't know where exactly. But he's been dropping projects. One project that came out known as Mount Marcy, that was, he bought it off his own website, now put it on streaming sites, is a quality album. I think with Rock Marciano, what he gives you is a laid back flow, but with really good bars. And sometimes, it's a misogynistic line or some shit like that. But, you know, I think what to me it comes off as is just like it's a pimp vibe. He's that guy. I feel like he'd be wearing fur coats and all that. And there's a lot of good features. One that stands out is Schoolboy Q. Schoolboy Q also had a good album. I think it was this year with Crash. If I'm not, it was last year, late last year. But Schoolboy Q, it just feels like he's in that bag. And when Rock Marciano, I mean, he produces most of his albums just like Royce the 5'9". So this album is just it's a tricky sound. Honestly, you gotta really understand the music, not the music, I guess per se, like the lyrics. Is just what he's trying to do in the back end. One thing with him is he produces a lot of albums. He produced Stove God the Cook, his album. He's a really good one as well. And that album is glamorous. And then you get this one. This one was like, I don't know what it is. Like it's like he threw it in a box and pulled out some fucking beats that were just insane that he had made. But I think y'all really like this one. Again, like it's New York style. So you're gonna get that it's that cloth talk with coke talk all mixed together, and I think it makes for a good ride. Honestly, I recommend that one highly since it is starting top 10, right? So as we go into number 9, we have a resurgence in a way with Nas with King's Disease. This one is a collab with Hit Boy, mostly Hit Boy, and it was a resurgence for the way he ended his last album. I guess his last major album, which was Nazir. Nazir was with Kanye. Kanye had produced this one in Wyoming. It was one of the many albums that came out weekly for his brand. And Nas, at when you heard that album, Nazir, you weren't sure what you were gonna get for the next one because that one was inconsistent. But when you got Hit Boy was coming off one of his biggest years in 2019, and he doubled down in 2020. And one big song, I guess, that you've heard countless times is I think he did Sicko Mode, if I'm not mistaken. So just to give you that idea and put it into Nas, that Nas is he's one of the illest rappers of all time, and you got a complete different sound with Hit Boy, which Hit Boy's a modern type. They clashed and they made a great album. It's a very tightly compact 10 to 12 track album with 30, maybe I would say roughly 40 minutes. And the features were really good. You had a Don Toliver feature that was pretty solid. You had a Big Sean feature, a Charlie Wilson feature. So with all these, you were getting a lot of good sound. And just to be sure on what song it was that I really liked, it was 27 Summers. 27 Summers was good. One that actually stands out to me that wouldn't make sense to most would be the Till the War Is Won featuring Lil Durk. Lil Durk's been dropping albums all year, but Lil Durk, I think in ways is getting that boost in just maybe credibility in the mainstream audience because of just the feature with Drake. But Lil Durk on this one just is amazing, and I also want to also mention is All Bad with Anderson .Paak. Those are pretty good album. Just cuts. I really like those. And but yeah, listen to Nas King's Disease. I think this is one of Nas's best work, and for sure, Hit Boy is killing the streets. 2020, I think he's the producer of the year for sure. We got number 8, West Side Gun, Pray for Paris. Pray for Paris. It's glamorous and all that. But let me get into before all that. West Side Gun, Buffalo rapper. He's also one of the members of Griselda, and he was one of the first to drop for their major, I guess the major label, which is Shady Records. And when you get into just Pray for Paris for the idea of what it is, it's honestly one of the more glamorous albums you'll hear. especially for a guy, I guess, that talks about coke and all that stuff. It starts off crazy. They talk about I think it was in the Paris. It was like a Paris fashion show or something like that, and they talk about all that. Like you get the idea from the start of this, but then like when you go into the first song, I guess the first real song, which is George Bondo with Conway and Benny, you hear just the beat is just crazy. It's just slapping everywhere. I think that one was made by Beat Butcher, and then it kind of mellows out with a Joey Badass, Tyler the Creator feature, 327 on the next track, and you just keep getting that type of up and down just kind of sound where it's drug talk mixed with different types of style of beats, and man, like it goes into like maybe like a Freddie Gibbs, Rock Marciano, 500 ounces. That one is just slaughtered with just bars, but the beat is so mellow. You know what I'm saying? And then Claymore kick. Well, with West Side Gun, I should add. West Side Gun is a big wrestling fan, so some of these are named after just wrestling moments, or they end in with wrestling just monologue. So Claiborne kick, obviously off of damn, I'm drawing a blank. The Irish Drew McIntyre. I'm sorry, I just couldn't think of him. Uh, that one features Baldi James, and that's a good one. And man, this whole album's pretty solid. And Sean versus Flair, that was a good story that I heard. So Sean versus Flair is produced by DJ Premier, but that was around the time that West Side Gun had COVID. So he told Premier, he's like, "Hey man, I could give you one quick verse, but it has to be, first one has to be the best one." And he did, and we have this song. So Pray for Paris as being one of the better albums of the year. I think that's pretty accurate. I think you'll catch that in a lot of people's list. But West Side Gun outdid himself. He did drop a lot of albums this year, if we're being honest, but this is his best. We got number seven. One of the lates that we lost, Mac Miller. He had an album called Circles. Uh, it's tough to talk about it because I think this album was very indicative of how he was feeling. Obviously, most of his albums give you a real good sense of how his life was going emotionally and mentally and all that type of sorts. But in this one, it's kind of like you saw, I guess, in some way, where his light was dimming mentally on himself. But the album honestly is really really good. It's down in, as far as like just emotions, but I think that's what he does. He just paints a vivid picture of his life. Blue World is one of a good song and good news as well. Um, but this album is really good. Um, I think it does good to, I guess, really close out his career. I guess if you want to say sadly, but you understand where he was going with his I guess his music vibes, I guess. But Mac Miller, I guess best thing to say is the guy could rap with anyone, and but he knew how to control a song. If it wasn't him just spitting quick verse like just fast bars out of nowhere, he knew how to make it. I guess more of a more livelier type of sound. I think a lot of people miss that kind of flow that he won't give us. Maybe there's still more music to come out. Most of these artists, they just record thousands of songs, so there's a chance we get another Mac Miller song. But obviously, we won't get to see the Mac Miller of now. But Circles, I highly recommend. There's a deluxe. The deluxe did it justice as well. I think y'all need to listen to that too. Number six, we go back to back on the posthumous albums. We got Pop Smoke, Shoot for the Stars, Ain't for the Moon. And I wanted to talk more specifically on the deluxe version of it, which is almost 2 hours long. So don't expect y'all to listen to that. But 34 tracks, but there's a lot of good tracks here. Like, this is not just 34 tracks and like 8 are good. I'm talking about more in the range of 15 to 20 tracks. And because there's a couple of like small songs that you don't really count as songs, I would like to say. Um, Pop Smoke, I mean, I guess to go in a sense of what that and Mac Miller was going through something mental, like his fighting his own demons and sense in ways like that. And Pop Smoke, more or less, being a rapper in some ways, you're put in a limelight that you have to live in some way. You have to talk about it in some way, and he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And in some ways, that's how it is. Sadly, But with this album, I think 50 Cent produced it, and to me and my friend Kike, I think we both agree he was the pretty much the second version of 50 Cent, and he just sounds like it. He had dropped Meet the Woo too earlier in the year as well, and that was a good one too. But I think Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon did what kind of 50 Cent did and Get Rich or Die Trying, which was give you that hustler mentality and that really like um alpha approach. But then he gives you that little soft moments. I mean, the man had his own TikTok, song go off, Mood Swings with Lil TJ, But then you got like a song like, let's just say like The Woo with Roddy Ricch of 50, which gives you just like I don't know how to explain it. Like it's like it makes you vibe. I guess I don't know. It's a groovy song. I guess even groovy sounds odd, but most of these songs, like I guess Hello, like the beats hit with A Boogie, and I mean, Pop Smoke is gonna be missed. Honestly, he had everything, and there's I guess there's nothing left to be said. But the guy I know for sure has another album. I think they had mentioned his manager had mentioned it. But Pop Smoke at number 6, Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon. I think y'all should listen to him. Highly recommend. At number 5, like I mentioned, we've been mentioning this top 15, but now we're at the nice gritty top 5. Now, pause the video or whatever. I'll give you a couple seconds. Tell me what my number 1 is down below. We got number 5, Benny the Butcher, Burden of Proof. This is the one of the members, like I mentioned before, of Griselda, with his major album. I think it's his first major album. Burden of Proof. It comes off, and this one is also a collab with Hit Boy. Like I mentioned, Hit Boy's had a great 2020. Here's this one as well. And the best way to compare all these artists from Griselda, Westside is pretty much the brain, and then you got Benny. Benny's more or less like kind of like, I guess it would comparing him to weaponry. He's like the knife. Or no, he's a gun. Cause what he does is he'll one shot kill you with these flows, and he'll come in different varieties. He'll scatter his flow around, and all that stuff. I don't know guns, but I know the guy is versatile as fuck. Um, and that's what he does here, because he, like a lot of people I mentioned, he sounds just like a newer Jay-Z, and I think it's true, because the thing is, he is giving you all the drug talk, which is pretty much 2020, coke talk, and mixing it all around like you've heard it before, but he makes it sound a little more fresher, more, I guess, like the word we've been using all this time when we talk about these artists, glamorous. And Hit Boy, it gives it a modern twist, like he also did for Nas. Because I mean, in ways, Benny is an old mind, in a younger man's body. And with this album, he does that. Timeless with Lil Wayne and Big Sean just goes crazy on it. One Way Flight with Freddie Gibbs is awesome. And then you have Rick Ross, an established artist, I guess, with you know just the credibility in the world, going up against Benny in Where Would I Go. So you put that all together, and this album is just great. 40 minutes, tight, 12 songs. It's awesome, and I think with Benny, like I mentioned before, if you're not listening to Benny right now, next year for sure it's gonna be hearing that Benny feature that Drake has, and Drake I know loves Benny like that, and because Benny's that guy, and I hope, and when I talk about it in this review, I hope you understand, like, this guy's gonna be the next big thing. And this album is one of the reasons why, and also I'm sure he's working on his next album. But Burden of Proof, top 5, numero 5. Y'all need to listen to it. Number 4, we got Freddie Gibbs and a producer that we've mentioned a couple times already, Alchemist with Alfredo. Love this album, man. I loved it. When it came out, it was it was on replay value, and I gave it a little stop, like to not listen to it, and I came back to it, and it was just awesome. The look, I'm gonna be honest. The beats to me are not so crazy. Like they're not outlandish in any ways, but they're just right. And I think Freddie Gibbs, what he does is he he makes rap so simple, but you hear these fucking flows and you're just like, this is fucking insane, you know? Because he's just flowing through these fucking things like crazy. But he gives you like so many different type of styles. It's so awesome, right? So you got Frank Lucas, right? With Benny. We just talked about his album. So you expect that song to be a banger. You got track number six, with Something to Rap About featuring Tyler. And Tyler gives you a top of the head freestyle. And song is awesome. Honestly, one of the best tracks I've heard Tyler in a minute, other than, his albums, like feature wise. And Babies and Fools with Conway, just good. I think this is Freddie's one of Freddie's best work, but you got Pinata and Bandana, so you kind of his work is just up here, top of the food chain. But I don't know, man. I mean, how do you not put Freddie Gibbs as one of the best albums in the year? I don't know if he's up for a Grammy. Could be. Um, so that's if it's indicative to what I think. I mean, the Grammy should like this. I have pretty good music taste. Um, but I mean, even I think he gives you a little bit of the conscious of flow of just how it is in the modern life, like just how it's been the last 5 to 6 months. And well, recent times, I should say. And man, I don't know. Freddie Gibbs on this one was just awesome. I'm gonna keep mentioning it, but I think this one is, even though it's drug talk, I think this album is pretty. It's quick, 35 minutes, 10 songs. Listen to it. I have no other words to mention, but just listen to it. Now we're in the triple threat category. We got the big three, my favorite three albums of 2020. Starting at number three, Metro Boomin and 21 Savage, Savage Mode 2. Savage Mode 2 to me was a really good album as far as for what the trap needed. I felt a lot of albums that were trap related, or in that trap sound, they were very, very generic. To me, it was a down year for trap. But when Savage Mode 2, like its anticipation grew and grew and grew, I was hoping they would give a similar sound to what their first Savage Mode was. But what they did was they gave us an even better version of it, a little more of a, just like Metro Boomin likes to just break down like older sound, or just I feel like I hear him just play like not orchestra but just vintage shit, and just tear that apart and put it into a trap beat, and it just sounds insane, right? And that's what he did. And 21 Savage, in his last album, uh, what was it called? I Was Better Than I Am, somewhere around that. That album was really good. And what was good was that he was building himself, like his character, or even his not vocabulary, but his flow was getting better and better, his rap skills. And you saw it in Savage Mode 2. And man, it was insane. It's a really good album, very cohesive, if I have to say so myself. Um, and just like man, well, 50 Cent had mentioned it before. For Pop Smoke as well is pretty much the second coming of 50 Cent. In some songs, he just literally quotes the hook of 50 Cent. And there's a song called Many Men on this album that's just like the best. Honestly, it was awesome. But there's also a song called Sliding. Sliding is shit too. And the fact is, I haven't even mentioned that. Like, if we didn't even talk about Morgan Freeman, this album's still fire. But the fact that you have Morgan Freeman just sprinkled around the whole album, that's insane. It lived up to the hype. And I would say this is 21 Savage's best work as far as his mainstream goes. Because a lot of people would say, maybe his Slaughter King mixtapes were good. But I don't know, man. I don't know, Savage Mode 2, that's the one. And that's my number three. Numero dos. We got Conway the Machine, From King to a God. Now, I'm going to keep it all the way to 100. I would have put this one as my number one. I'm gonna be honest, but that person that's a number one stole my heart. And but Conway, look, when I mention all this drug talk and all that stuff, I think what we're missing is just I guess the brutality of all of that drug talk is, and what Conway does here is just paint a vivid picture of everything, right? I know everyone has a different story, as like Freddie Gibbs, like I mentioned, and Benny and all that, but you know what makes Conway's stories a little more different is the fact is he almost didn't make it. He got shot in the face. He barely survived. He had to learn how to talk and all that shit, and he's a lyricist. So, like to me, when I heard that and I heard his music, that instantaneously was like, that's that guy. He's one of my favorite artists right now. I think the guy's fucking talented galore, man. And the album, like, you can play it front and back, crazy. It got a deluxe. The deluxe does everything perfect. Maybe I'm just sounding like a fucking stan at this point. I'm sorry. I just love this album. And I mean, Lemon with Method Man. Method Man just killed his feature. It really it reinvigorated his life, his career. People want now a Wu Tang to even a Meth album. Don Damani, one of the best flip beats in the game with Alchemist and Derringer. Derringer is the in-house producer for Griselda. You have like even like a mixture of Juvenile Hell with Flea Lord, Havoc from Mob Deep, Lloyd Banks from G Unit. All three in a damn, well, all four with Conway. Just bars being thrown on. The beat's crazy. And I mean, he has interludes sprinkled around for his I don't know if he was his manager, but I know his name is DJ Shea, and DJ Shea was a big reason for what Griselda became, but he passed away. I think he because of COVID. But you know, you see what really, I guess, lights up a Conway in ways, and you have front lines where it gives you a conscious aspect of things, you know, for the whole, like what the last eight, the pretty much the whole year has been, and he'll talk about it in this song. But then he gives you a club banger with Anza, with Armani Caesar, also a member of Griselda. Man, look, this album is awesome. I think it's highlight of his work and highlight of what I guess the whole drug talk and all that type of thing, the coke talk, all mixed in one. This is a premier album, and I really think y'all should listen to it. I love this album. It's for the old heads. For the old heads, I think this is one of the. This would be the one for y'all, man. Number one, numero uno. Now, if you didn't get this one, then I don't know how the fuck, right? You see that guy right here on my right shoulder? That's The Weeknd, and he had the album of the year, After Hours. Now, let's get into it, right? So, After Hours is a great album, one of the best albums he's ever made. Not my favorite, as far as like it's top up there, but it's not my favorite. This body of work is great. I think what it does, I don't know if maybe just because I'm just thinking about it too much. I think it's a mixture of what Starboy and Beauty Behind the Madness could have been, like if you put them together. And he gives you everything. You know, he gives you that party vibe. He gives you that what you wanted from. I get you kind of slowly get like a My Dear Melancholy vibes in some of them, but this album just sounds expensive as fuck. Like the way they built it, you know. To start off with like Alone Again, I think Alone Again is super great, and man, The Weeknd, he just doesn't. I don't know what he does, but like his lyrics just don't fail. You know, I don't know, and you would think you run out of those lines. You know, those 1 2 lines that he drops. You know about heartbreak and just I guess the sexual lines too. But the guy doesn't flop, and I'm surprised he didn't win any awards in those damn award shows, man. It's just this album is like front and back fire, deluxe fire. Which look, guys, just drop the whole album. Deluxe is too much for sometimes, but I mean this one. He put in a couple more songs in there, and all three or four are pretty good. But I think you understand the level of just greatness the weekend is reaching. This album is amazing. It's propelling him to another level, and he was already there with Starboy, and he was there before with Beauty Behind the Madness. So there's no reason why it shouldn't be anyone else's number one. Other if you just don't like the weekend, right? But the weekend's project, After Hours, thebomb.com, my number one. And yeah, I mean, if y'all like the list, let me know. Comment down below. Ask me a question. I'll answer you. This is a long video, and I apologize, but you know what? Y'all wanted to know what the flavor was like, so here it is. I'm Alexis. Tune into the Nothing Less podcast and keep on just subscribe, sharing all that, and be ready for anything else. Haven't liked or subscribed to our channel, you need to do that. Fuck out of here.